40% predicted reduction in child poverty. 40% reduction in child poverty. I'm Hilary Hoynes. I'm a professor of economics and public policy at the University of California, Berkeley. So I study child poverty in the United States, or rich countries, and primarily in the United States. And I'm particularly interested in the role of the labor market and in the social safety net in terms of how it affects families and children. Well, what could be much more important than trying to communicate that children are an important asset in our economy, and that providing more assistance for children is an investment in those children and in our society. The OECD data shows incredibly clearly that the United States is an outlier. We spend, I think Turkey is the only country in the data table from the OECD that includes more than 30 countries that spends less as a share of GDP on children and kind of family benefits for families with children. All the other countries, including the United Kingdom, France, Italy, Spain, countries much less wealthy than the United States, spend a far greater share of their GDP on families and children. And what you see in that data is also the case that child poverty rates in the United States were an outlier there as well. And so we spend less and we get less for it. So the single program that brings the most children out of poverty in the United States is the Earned Income Tax Credit, and in particular, the tax credits together. The second most important anti-poverty program for children in the United States is SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which I think surprises most people, but both of those two are the biggest anti-poverty programs for children in the United States. The American Rescue Plan is the single biggest piece of legislation that moved the needle on these investments for children in my lifetime, and possibly the biggest thing since the origination of our social safety net in the 1935 Social Security Act. The expansion of the child tax credit created a time where, for the first time in American history, we had an unconditional cash benefit for children, something that most every other country has. What we know is so powerful about the expansions of the child tax credit, but also in the American Rescue Plan, the tremendous expansions of SNAP, of universal meals, the PEBT program, many things that added up to, I think, a 40% predicted reduction in child poverty. 40% reduction in child poverty. There's nothing else that has ever come close to doing that in any one policy that I know of. The importance of trusting families to have the flexibility means having more resources that are cash and unconditional. And so the child tax credit is so important because of that. And the other thing that was so critical in the 2021 expansion of the child tax credit was the fact that half of the benefits were released on a monthly level. And that allows families to use these new resources when they need it on the ground on a month-to-month level. So all of this kind of adds up to a story of, you could be interested in reducing child poverty because you think it's the right thing to do today. But what the current research really shows is just how much those things pay off in the long run. And in the same way that we think about infrastructure or educational spending as, okay, we need to pay some costs today, but they're going to yield returns in the long run. The same turns out to be true for social safety net spending on children, particularly on children.